After that night, I realized my son was hiding more than just exhaustion. True infidelity story, safe version. My name is Emily Carter, and I never thought I'd be sitting here, recounting the events of a single night that changed how I viewed my family, my marriage, and my son forever. 4 years, we lived in what looked like an ordinary American household, quiet suburban neighborhood, white picket fences, and the illusion that we were all fine. But as with many families, the surface often hides storms swirling beneath. It all began one late evening when I noticed something off about my son, Daniel. He was 23, hardworking, and recently graduated from college. He had started his first job in the city, and I knew the adjustment wasn't easy. But that night, when he walked through the front door, his face was pale, and his shoulders slumped lower than usual. His exhaustion didn't look like it came only from work, it looked like the weight of the world was pressing down on him. "Rough day, honey?" I asked, putting my book aside as he trudged past me. He forced a smile but didn't answer. Instead, he went straight to his room. That silence pierced my heart. Later, as I passed by his room to check on him, I found him sitting on the edge of his bed, his face buried in his hands. His phone was on the nightstand, buzzing with notifications he refused to answer. The sight of him like that made me pause. He wasn't just tired. He was broken. The next morning, he avoided eye contact at breakfast. His father, Michael, hardly noticed because he was rushing out the door for another business trip. That was our life, Michael gone most of the time, and Daniel and I left alone. It had always been like that, but lately, I started to notice how much Daniel missed having his father around. When I finally asked him what was wrong, he sighed. "Mom, I don't want to talk about it." His voice cracked slightly. That's when I knew whatever he was hiding wasn't something small. Over the following days, I watched him carefully. He came home later, barely touched his food, and spent long hours in his room. The dark circles under his eyes deepened, and even his friends stopped dropping by. He was isolating himself. One night, after he had gone to bed, I noticed he had left his laptop open downstairs. I didn't want to pry, but as a mother, I worried. The screen displayed a half-written email to someone named Rachel. The words were desperate, filled with confusion and hurt. "I can't believe you lied to me. I thought you were different. I gave everything, and now I don't even know who I am anymore." I froze. My son wasn't just exhausted, he was heartbroken. And from the looks of it, betrayed. The next morning, I gently brought it up. "Daniel, I saw the email draft last night. I didn't mean to invade your privacy, but I'm worried." "Who's Rachel?" His eyes filled with tears. He admitted that Rachel was someone he had been seeing for almost a year, but what he discovered recently left him shattered. She had been seeing someone else the whole time. Worse, that someone else was married. "It makes me feel dirty, Mom," he said, his voice shaking. "Like I was part of something I never wanted to be part of. She never told me the truth." My heart broke for him. Infidelity wasn't new to our household, it lingered in our shadows. Years ago, I had suspected Michael of having an affair during one of his countless trips. He never confessed, but his late-night calls and sudden absences painted a picture I couldn't ignore. I chose to stay, to hold the family together, but the scars remained. Now, watching my son deal with the aftermath of betrayal, I realized the generational cycle of secrecy and heartbreak was still alive. He wasn't just exhausted, he was carrying emotional scars no young man should carry. I sat beside him and reminded him that none of this was his fault. Rachel's choices don't define your worth. You loved her honestly, and that's not something to be ashamed of. Over the weeks, I encouraged him to channel his pain into something healthier. He began running again, a hobby he had abandoned. Slowly, I saw life return to his eyes. He even reconnected with his old friends, who welcomed him back with open arms. But something else happened in the process. As I supported him, he unknowingly gave me the courage to confront my own silence. One evening, while Michael was home for once, I sat him down and said, "I know about the past. I know there were times you weren't faithful." For the first time, Michael didn't deny it. He admitted his mistakes, ashamed and quiet. That night, we had the hardest conversation of our marriage, but also the most honest one. And strangely, It was Daniel's pain that pushed me to finally break mine. Months later, our household looked different. Michael made an effort to be more present, Daniel healed day by day, and I allowed myself to stop pretending everything was perfect. We weren't a flawless family, but we were finally real. When I look back at that night, the night I first noticed Daniel's exhaustion, I realize it was the turning point. He wasn't just hiding tiredness. He was hiding heartbreak, betrayal, and disappointment in the people he trusted most. And in helping him face it, I found the strength to face my own truths. Our story isn't glamorous or easy, but it's real. Infidelity doesn't just affect couples, it seeps into families, into children, and into futures. But healing, though painful, is possible. And sometimes, it begins with noticing the quiet exhaustion in someone you love and daring to ask what they're really hiding.